Mike Schaeffer and Chet Hirsch are the Emmy-nominated team behind the main title sequence of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. Mike's the creative director and Chet's the director. I'm Matt Noble of Gold Derby, and I want to kick things off by asking each of you, what's your favorite thing in the main title sequence of the show? We'll start with you, Mike.
It's interesting. I had a similar question, but it was phrased a little bit differently. If I have to pick now, I'm gonna say the tunnel of skulls and bones. That really, I just love that moment, and that's one of those early explorations that was in our original treatment and made it all the way to the end. So I just love the way that works and how the skull articulates open. Is really satisfying.
Yeah. Chet?
Yeah. Oh, I would say, I'm sorry, I actually went and pulled it off the wall. I would say this, the mask in the hallway,
Oh my
which is
gosh.
from, yeah. It's like an antique Italian mask. But yeah, this one, which, yeah, I guess the background is kind of blurring unless I try to
Oh
wear it.
yeah, put it
You
on
gotta
your
wear
head.
it.
Yeah, scan. So yeah, I scanned, shot a bunch of photos, and then our art director David Rowley was able to scan it and work it into the hallway, and that was a good day. I would say.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Um, the series Cabinet of Curiosities, each episode has a different director, a different cast, it's a different story. Um, Guillermo does a brief introduction to each episode in front of a cabinet. But outside of that, the main title theme is the real constant in the series. It's the thing that sort of is the same for every episode and binds the series together. So I guess what was important for each of you in coming up with a main title sequence that would be one of the few things and the only real thing that would be a through line for the series?
Yeah. Well, I think given that it's, Guillermo del Toro that's curating everything, I think it's just a tremendous sense of responsibility to his work and to getting to participate in an extension of his, kind of collective universe. And so even when we knew very little, there was that tremendous sense of responsibility. Like, we really need to deliver. I'm a lifelong fan of his, and so it was a thrill and like a super challenge at the same time, like right from moment one. And based it a lot on his book and things like that. Other resources that we had, and really kind of, even when we only knew cryptic titles or short stories that were adapted, we still had all of his other manifestations to kind of measure that against and kind of home in on, together with that idea of a cabinet of curiosity, this kind of library of like far flung and exotic mysterious objects. So that was kind of our way in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just thinking of the cabinet as sort of a container, a vessel for all the stories within. So on the one hand, it's kind of a literal reference. Obviously, it's kind of like a wooden cabinet that you see in the very beginning. But I think making the inside kind of magical and not matching the outsides. I think that really was exciting for us and kind of analogous to how the anthology works.
Yeah. And it's like it's very like cabinet is something that contains things, but it's very expansive, the main title sequence when you enter it. You know, I guess what was important for each of you in the cabinet and in the main title theme sequence in terms of what it was saying or what it was what story it was telling?
I mean, I think the biggest thing was to maintain that tone of surrealism and kind of magical realism. And so, we spent a lot of time at the beginning, as artists got involved. I kind of share a lot of really key surrealist references with them. Maria Oppenheim and Leonora Carrington and Max Ernst and people like that. Magritte. I mean, come on, and really kind of bring them into that world. And so I think maintaining that, because like you say, it does feel expansive, but from, except for the very first shot, it's never really clear what size anything is. It's full of possibility and detail, but there's always something about it that's uncanny. It's always it always feels a bit dreamlike.
Mm. Yeah. Did you want to add anything, Mike?
Yeah, I think the way that the camera moves, that's something that Chet and I discussed a lot about how, it feels like it's on rails, and then towards the end, up is down and down is up, and that sort of disorientation, which kind of culminates with the trapped, the trapped feeling that you get at the very end. I think that was really important, kind of as an overall story piece.
Yeah, yeah. The camera was like our performer. Yeah, good point. That was the only way to really show the change in tone. Yeah.
Mm. What was for each of you? Well, actually, congratulations on the Emmy nomination. It's really exciting. What does that mean to you that it was recognized in that way? You're nominated alongside David Rowley and Akshay Taiwai.
Tawari.
Tawari? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
You're nominated with those guys. What does that nomination mean to you guys?
I mean, it's such a huge development and kind of a bolt from the blue, given that's not something that we have access to every day in our work, and so it was such a thrill to be recognized and kind of taken on as a peer by the team at Netflix and by Guillermo del Toro's team, and then to further have it, be responded to this well and on this level. It really it's really special, and it really kind of just underlines what a gift the whole experience was.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Matt. It's so exciting. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's really like the only way I can put it. Chet and I have been doing this sort of work for a long time, and it's not really like what you go after is the awards. And so to have this kind of recognition is like, wow, like I know that we were doing good work, but it's cool that it gets recognized like this. It's definitely an honor, and yeah, so unbelievable at the same time. So I'm just excited to continue to build on this success and keep moving forward and do more of these things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It like also nominated for the series is Holly Amber Church, who did the main title theme music. It sort of is nice that both parts of that are recognized. How much did you work with her? And how much collaboration does there need to be between the people designing the main title sequence and the person doing the music for the main title sequence?
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't directly collaborate with her. Like I would have loved that experience and sort of playing ideas, audio and visual at the same time. We it was a more of a conventional kind of approach, which is pretty standard, but where we would work on the visuals and then scored to the visuals, which is also an honor. I love but I think just being able to it elevates it so much, and it's such a big part of it, and that feeling of that you get when you watch it, it's really amazing. And congratulations to Holly. It's amazing. I hit her up on Instagram. Yes.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and she preserved as we were blocking it out, first with the storyboards into the animatic, into the first renders. I had cut together a track that kind of hit the beats that we needed from a lot of pieces from the Philip Glass and Kronos Quartet, like Dracula album. And she actually preserved some of that tone in like the strings that come in at the very beginning, which always felt great. So we have a piece of the beginning, but then it evolved so much. And we got a demo track, I guess, was it about 2/3 of the way through the process, maybe, that all of our later renders were shared along with. And then to feel how far that came in the final version that we saw on Netflix was even more of a thrill. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice to see it evolve.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think matching the energy was really she did an amazing job of, like you said, Chet, we had very strong ideas of how we wanted to control the energy of the opening sequence, like speaking about the camera before. And I feel like the music just really, really hits that. And it is available on Instagram if you want to add it to your posts.
Nice.
What you nominate for main title theme, main title design, the main title designs and openings of shows are so iconic and some of the most memorable parts of television. Do each of you have a favorite main title sequence from the past?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the two that are the most relevant here are the Dunwich Horror, the Sandy DeVore title sequence, super old, like really high contrast, real simple blue and black paintings, but kind of has a structure similar to this and some tone similar to that. That was one that always really spoke out to me. And then also, all your like night gallery, Twilight Zone type, spooky speculative fiction TV show credits that told you that, like you're done with that show. Now we're taking hold and we're going somewhere. Like those were also a really big influence, and was really excited to be able to create something in that vein.
Yeah. Mike?
Oh man, I have to say, like, I really want to say, like, I want to do like lowbrow and highbrow. Like
Yeah.
lowbrow, I would say like Golden Girls back in the day. Speaking about audio, that's just on my mind right now. That just I watch it. I watched it recently. My wife and I bonded early with watching the Golden Girls, and just it sets the tone. You got the aerial shot of Florida. It's good. It holds up. And that song, it's hard to beat. But then highbrow. I think I keep saying like James Bond stuff. I think that kind of is sort of when you go ultra over the top, cinematic and almost experimental filmmaking too. If you look at a lot of the early ones, like they were doing techniques that were really hard to pull off back in the day, and I think really pushed the medium. Sexism is probably something that should be mentioned, but other than that, they kind of hold up visually.
Yeah. Awesome. When you were working on this main title sequence, what was the biggest challenge you had to sort of confront or come up against?
I mean,
I think it was, or go ahead, Mike.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Oh
I
no.
was say, sorry, I'll go because I'm still talking.
Yeah.
I think just the resources. I think we want to throw the kitchen sink at something like this, and the reality of the production and the mill being a business is you don't get to always do everything that you want to do. Although in this case, the strategy was small team for a long period of time, and that really really helped. Because everybody, there was a shorthand of the artists that were working on the project, and Chet and I collaborating. So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's because we're in practice that works out to all your dreams and the resources you have, and just chipping away and making sure that each moment and each scene, gets enough investment and enough detail, and enough is there, and making sure that we push them all far enough into the same kind of mood and space. And yeah, making those kind of careful, calculated decisions every step of the way about the best way to accomplish that within the scope that we had. And like Mike said, it really helped having the team that we had, having David Rowley and Akshay Tiwari, just brilliant Houdini artists, who just made everything possible.
Yeah, and they're both huge tinkerers, so they'd be like, "Hey, I was sitting around thinking about something. What do you think about this?" And so just having them really put in so much effort and additional time, was really really helpful. And yeah, it's a passion project for sure. I mean, we work on commercials at the mill that Super Bowl commercials that are higher budget, and this was kind of a smaller budget, although not nothing. And I think just being strategic with that is kind of, I think that's the challenge of any design based project, is like how can you do how can you be functional with it, and make something as beautiful as possible within the resources that you have, because the sky is like the budget is a limit, not the sky.
Yeah.
What do you each think is special about this show, Cabinet of Curiosities?
I mean, for me, it's the sort of the anthology. I just love that approach with the show, where it's loosely tied together, but but also can stand on their own. I think it's really exciting. Like that format is really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. The anthology, to have a horror anthology where every episode is such a meal, like every piece is made with care like that, I think, really, yeah, that's the biggest thing for me, because that's kind of a major event. You don't get that all the time. And to actually be able to, work within it, as well, was a huge reward. But yeah, I'd be excited just as a genre fan, like watching it.
And I guess, how do you think the main title theme, and sequence serves that, that serves that show and serves, yeah, these stories?
I think this is an interesting one because we had Del Toro's entire filmography to connect with. We had the entire historical tradition of Cabinets of Curiosity, which goes back to the 1500s probably, and kind of underpins museums now. And then we had kind of the whole history of horror and speculative fiction to kind of draw on and kind of collect them all in this one impossible space. And so there was like an embarrassment of riches to pull from, and it was just trying to choose the key objects that made the right connections and really fleshed it out and hopefully juxtapose those three things into a world that could evoke things to every different viewer, like regardless of their background. And so that was kind of the fun challenge of it was to try and evoke all those things. And as we did it, we found that we couldn't be too on the nose. There was some real visual exploration in how to do that best, so it was really fun.
Right.
Yeah, I think I think I agree wholeheartedly with what Chet was saying. I think kind of setting it up, setting up the tone with also with the beautiful score. I think that really that was really the core of it for us.
Well, thank you both so much for your time today. All the best of luck with the upcoming Emmy Awards. People can go to goldderby.com to follow the Emmy Awards and join the discussion in our forums. And yeah, I just best of luck for both of you. And thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks a lot.
Great speaking with you. Thank you.